What's up, folks? Casual Dad here to talk the Warhammer Combat Cards economy. And what I'm really going to focus on is a breakdown of the new hero packs. Hero packs? Hero packs. And just to talk about these a little bit, these are level unlocked, which is what this lock means, which means that you can get drops in them that are above your current collection level. If you don't know what that means, as you're playing in Warhammer Combat Cards, you have a player level, and the cards you can actually get in drops are based on your player level. The higher level you are, the more different things are unlocked to where you can get them in random drops. Now, what that means is that you can get cards that you could not get in your normal pool, as opposed to the victory pack that you usually get. These guys here, those will always drop a random selection of cards from any faction anywhere that is within the card pool that you have. So until you are max player level, those will have a limited selection of cards. And now, just to do a real quick breakdown here, there are two kinds of resources in Warhammer Combat Cards, and one of them is conveniently behind my head. We have gold here, which is your gold, looks like gold. And then we have the blue plasma over here, which looks like this little icon right there. Now, as you can see, there are a lot of different ways that you can spend plasma. One of the most popular ways to spend plasma that seems to come up a lot in the community is paying a little bit of plasma to open these packs earlier. Now, that does save you some time. So if you're playing a bunch, if you're sitting down grinding through a bunch of games, that would let you get, so I could clear this out and put another pack in here and save 47 minutes of wait time. I don't know that that's necessarily worth it because I consider plasma to be very precious. And I personally have one key rule with plasma, and that is never to spend it on truly random rewards. These packs are truly random, and the drop rates are pretty bad. So that means your chances of getting something actually rare, epic, or legendary are fairly low compared to getting commons that you already have in your collection level. So for me personally, I always pay or I save my plasma for rewards that are somewhat guaranteed. And we'll look at a couple versions of those here. Before I get too into this, my favorite way to spend gold is either upgrading cards or in the card shop. And this is new, and I love the card shop. You usually get a bunch of commons in here, and paying 50 gold for 5 copies of a common is the best value to me personally. I haven't done the math to see if that actually is the best value, but I consider it a really good way to get the insanely high numbers of copies of commons you need to level them up. It's a great way to get new commons. It's a great way to get new commons up to like a reasonable competitive level where you have a couple trait levels in them. And it is a place where you can spend plasma to unlock new cards, where it's 75 plasma for a brand new epic, 1 copy of an epic card, which if it's one you don't have, that's still not bad, especially if you're somewhat lower level. Unlocking an epic then adds it to your card pool. That is something I should have mentioned in the level locking is you can pick up drops in a random pack of cards that either are in your level or where you can have them in the general pool, or that you already have 1 copy of. So if you luck into a high level, very rare legendary or epic from a pack or a campaign reward, that means that then any random drop can then from then on include copies of that card for you. So that's great. The ways that I tend to spend plasma, though, I don't usually do anything beyond that first level. I consider anything like 200 plasma for 2 copies is just not, it's not worth it. Like the number of copies of a card that you'll need later on to level them up is so much higher than that, that beyond that single copy, occasionally, if it was an epic I really liked, like this guy, I would pay the 275 to level him up to the next level, but not in this case. Again, I consider plasma quite precious, and so I'm very careful with where I spend it. So just jumping around a couple other places. One of my favorite plays, this is, yeah, okay. Especially for new players, I really lean on these 150 plasma warlord packs. So if there's a campaign in there, if there's an active campaign for one of the factions that you really like, that you want to level up, if you're a new player, this is a really, really good way to unlock new warlords. It will guarantee you at least 1 copy of a warlord in the faction that's currently in the campaign, which is amazing. But then also, if you have copies of the warlords, that gives you a chance to level them up. And if it's one of the factions that doesn't have very many warlords, such as Votann, I don't think gets drops like this. They have too few. But Tau has quite a few warlords at this point. Let's see, what do we have the fewest warlords? Votann, Tyranids, Chaos. Most of them are pretty high now, so Tau is not bad. You see, if you only have, I mean, you could get any of these actually in those packs, because if I'm not mistaken, they are level unlocked. It doesn't say if they're level unlocked, but this does show which warlords you could get. And actually, let me backtrack a bit. So another thing here too is that when you look at these, they have different symbols and icons on them, like the unlock, that it's not limited to your general pool. And then you've got this eye icon that'll show you what's actually included in the pack. So these are the things you could drop. Now, this right here is a very strong case of what is not a... This is a semi-guaranteed reward. So when I was saying I don't spend plasma on truly random results, this is not a truly random result. There are 3 warlords you could pull from here. If you get the big pack of one of these, you're going to get a couple levels of these guys if you're early on, probably a couple levels of these guys, and then have good odds to get any of these. And if you don't have any copies of those warlords, that's pretty phenomenal. So I really recommend saving up your plasma, even that little bit you would spend on opening your victory packs early. Save it for big bundles like these that can really focus down on something you truly want with high odds of getting specific cards. And definitely these warlord packs too. If you have the plasma, these ones are almost always worth it because they're chances of legendary supreme commanders. There's a lot that you can get in here that's pretty great. And I believe it doesn't have the the level unlocked symbol on it, but I'm pretty sure that these are level unlocked, so you can get warlords that you don't have access to in the general pool. These are great. So especially for my top factions like Chaos, I'll almost always buy these. Eldari I will sometimes, but most of my Eldari warlords are quite high level, so I'm not worried about that. Then we're going to the special offer section, and this is a spot where you get the new battle packs, and these are not bad. And so we're going to get to the hero packs in just a minute. We'll talk about that in more detail. These do cost real money. These cost actual dollars. And now they will give you quite a few epics, some new cards. They'll give you a couple levels of legendary warlords. If you're new to the game and you want to kickstart, and you want to kickstart with a favorite warlord or favorite faction that is in these are not bad. I would go with one of these because you get diminishing returns pretty quickly as you get more of them. And then ones like this are actually not bad at all, because a lot of the dollar things you can buy also include bonus plasma that you can then spend on something like this, again, to kickstart your collection. The longer you play, the less value you're going to see in some of these, because that few copies is not going to give you levels of a card. Like you need 100 some to level him up later on. But it is still worth checking on these. Got Supreme Commanders in here. There's definitely, it's worth looking, but also worth saving up your plasma for specific things that you want. Like the red Gobbo is in here is absolutely incredible. And again, if you get one copy, that adds him to your pool so you can get drops for him. Like that's a good reward right there. And then Supreme Commander Gazgul, this thing is an absolute truck. So, well, this is the truck, my bad. But anyway, so you want to keep an eye on these because these do rotate out. And if you want some of the Supreme Commanders, this is a really good way to get them at a decent discount. Look at that, because this is... So take a note of that. If there are 2 legendaries in it, you only get level 1 of the Warlord. If there's only 1 legendary in it, you get a level 2 copy of the Warlord, because 2 copies is enough to level it up once. It's kind of cool. So, but anyway, so that's kind of a summary there. And now we're looking at the hero packs. So the hero packs, what they offer is a narrow card pool. So you're looking at, this includes the new cards, and that's an extra bonus because even the stuff that is level unlocked will not include cards that are not in the general pool. So there's some things that will never drop. Brand new releases, there's a bit of a wait time before they're actually added to the pool where they can be pulled out. This skips that wait. And then also these are usually themed around a specific drop rate. So these are Blood Angels themed, so there are a couple other interesting characters thrown in there. Like you got some random Ultramarines, some random Space Wolves. I forget if that guy's a Salamander. I think that's a Salamander. So there's stuff in here, but it's all kind of... It is still a smaller pool than the total of options you could get. It's kind of melee-centric Space Marines with a lot of Blood Angels included. And you do have a chance of getting the new cards as they drop out. And this also shows you the drop rate. That'll show you what percent you have of every single card you flip, the percent chance that it's going to be one of these. They also just made a note here that they have changed this so that none of these will ever be wild cards, because there was always a chance in these drops that you could get wild cards instead of one of these legendaries, and that would be a pretty big bummer. But so what this does is open a way to spend plasma for a chance to get the new cards that have just been released. And before that, the only way to get the brand new cards before they hit the general pool and get lucky was to spend money. A minimum of $20, usually more like $24 to get a couple copies of the legendary. And it's one of those things where whenever we're looking at stuff you can buy with money, one of my first concerns is, will this seriously hamper free-to-play players versus people who pay a bunch of money? Looking at this, if you spent almost $200, you could get 18 copies of Supreme Commander Shadow Sun, which is a decent level, but it's not going to max level her, and the bodyguards that come with that are pretty fillery. Like, these are good cards, but they're all fairly cheap, so they're not going to have the biggest benefit to Shadow. Say, whoa, Poison and Tau, I didn't see that. Sorry, get distracted. But yeah, so the big thing is here that you can spend a bunch of money to get an edge on these, right? You could drop $200 every couple weeks to get the newest cards if you really want to, and that will help definitely support the game, but you don't have to. And so that's the thing is these are guaranteed rewards for money, but they're not like the best cards. They're not some of the really scary stuff. They're the new releases to get access to them early, and you pay a pretty hefty sum for a couple copies of these. So, and these are similar. So these are dramatically cheaper. Having 500 plasma on hand is not at all challenging, and that gives you a chance to roll the new cards, which is pretty cool. You're not guaranteed to get them, but still, there's a chance. And if you're a beginning player having some plasma laying around, these are going to be well beyond the cards that you're getting in your general pool until you level up a couple times. So it's a nice get. And then these bigger ones in particular, it's 100 copies of cards, and it is, again, that limited pool. So every single card has a much smaller chance of what it's going to be. Now, that does mean you get more copies of these guys rather than you get more legendaries. But still, if you get a rare, if you get an epic, if you get a legendary, there's a smaller pool of what it's going to be. And to demonstrate, well, actually, let me talk about the breakdown here too. So these are a new thing that's going to be rolling out from here on out. And the breakdown will be 5 legendary cards, including the 1 new one that's released with these packs. There'll be 10 epic cards, 1 a new one that came out with the new release. 15 rare cards, 2 will be the new ones, and then 20 common cards, 3 of which will be the new ones. So if you're buying these packs, that is, what is that, 40, 50? That's 50 potential cards that you will not be in the common pool for quite a while, or the general card pool. And especially if you're a lower level player, that will be ones that you may not have access to for quite a while. So this is a really nice way to get a kickstart if you have a favorite subfaction or faction. So in this case, if you're a huge fan of Blood Angels, some of these big hero packs are a really good way to kickstart your Blood Angels collection and get access earlier to the new cards. And the 2,000 plasma is dramatically cheaper, even in dollars, than the $20 for a card. Let me actually see. This is the currency shop. Yeah, so 2,000 plasma is this one. It's $20. Okay. Caught myself out. I'm glad I checked that. So it's the exact same cost as paying the $20 to guarantee getting the card, but you have access to more cards. I have mixed feelings about that because that is more random for the same cost. I want to say actually on release this guy was 25. He's $24.99. So he would cost, and that's US dollars. So he would cost a little bit more, the extra $5 to get the guaranteed card, and then fewer copies of other stuff. Mixed feelings. I do like that it's plasma, which you can earn in game without spending money. So there is always a way for you to get these and access to the new cards, even if you don't spend money. I really like that that door is open, even if it is extra work and extra time to do it. Still, I like that being open where it's not, it has to be dollars. Because there's always, of course, the temptation to spend some money to get some extra plasma, but if it has to be dollars, there is no other way around it, which mixed feelings about that. So I have been gifted some plasma to test these out. So we're going to buy some of these big bundles and we're going to take a look and see what we get. What are we, limited pool. And of course, I want Lamertes, Guardian of the Lost, a lot because he was the first named character that I was introduced to in the entire Warhammer universe, which I'm pretty excited about. And he's the new hotness, so I'm pretty excited about that. I meant to change my card back before this to be this one, so I'm glad it already was this one. The first one I'm going to flip one by one. And so right out of the gate, you see a lot of commons and a lot of copies of them. So of my 100 cards, 10% of them were already this guy. And so, but I've still got 4 pages. Ezio's been an interesting one. I've gotten him to a pretty decent level at this point, and now he's actually quite scary. He's got a good wound pool, very basic stats, but it's pretty funny when I'm throwing him in these decks, his ranged attack gets way up there. So he's a fun card, especially for 18 points. And I was pretty down on him, but since the new artwork, I've been trying him out again, and I like him better. And then I'll go ahead and show all on these ones. I don't want to spend too much time on this. This is really nice because this is one that I just got. It's a newer card. I don't have a lot of copies of it, and it's that kind of actually shooty taunt with a whole lot of hit points that can be really powerful if you can slot it into a lot of decks. And there I got a new common. It's nice. A ranged focused, ooh, nicely balanced. I love balanced stats. There are a lot of warlords that really like equal stats between melee and ranged. I love to see it, especially in a cheaper common card. And I don't have many levels of this guy, so that's a level up right there. And then we got into our rares, and we have one more page left. Oh, look at that. Okay, so the drop odds for your new cards are quite high, especially the new commons. So that is nice. And we've got balanced stats with Berserk. Ooh, I like that too. I love those 12-point cards. That's great. Really encourages you to run multiples of them. And then, of course, we have your mono melee, but pretty good stats for a 14-point card. Very heavy in the offense, not so much in the defense. Final page, I didn't get any legendaries in this pack. None. So that is a bit of a bummer that there's not a guaranteed legendary, but we did get 2 new cards, including one of the new epics. God, that's level 1. Okay. Yeah, Big Game Hunter and Furious Charge. Oof. All right. That's going to be an interesting one, but he is epic, so it maxes at Furious Charge rank 2, which is a bit of a bummer. Excuse me, Big Game Hunter rank 2. It maxes out Furious Charge. No joke, but he doesn't have the Berserk, so I'm curious to see how he performs. My bet is the old one's going to be better. Does have a chunk of hit points, but he's 63 points, so I'm curious how much he's going to factor in. This guy, I do think, is just generally better, which is good. I really like this one. I'd like to see him remain relevant rather than be pushed out by the new guy. And then I got this guy, who is another, not so balanced, but he has that target acquired and a nice high hit point. Yeah, I really like the theme of the Death Company. I am a little bummed that we don't have a Death Company Warlord, but you can always use Artemis and just think it. So we're going to go ahead and crack 4 of these and see what we get. I'll go a little bit faster in the next ones. Do number 2 of 4. And so I already got most of the new cards. So we talked about, what is this? We looked at the numbers again. There are 3 new commons. I believe I got all of them. There are 2 new rares. I believe I got 1 of them. 1 new epic and 1 new legendary. So I think I've got the epic, and I haven't gotten the legendary yet. And now the drop rate for legendaries is still low. That's always something to be very much aware of whenever you're getting one of these packs, is you get a lot of random drops. These are really good for new players. I'm going to emphasize that again. It's a limited card pool, so the cards that you get will actually get a decent number of levels when you get them, which is great. So you're not getting more level 1 cards to soak up your card pool. You're getting stuff that actually will have meaningful levels to play in the ladder early on. And then you may unlock some more powerful cards you're going to get any other way. So I'm getting a bunch more copies of these. So the cards that I'm getting will be getting pretty significant quantities of cards. All right, and then we're on page 3, and we're already seeing epics. Oh, I love this card. Oh, man. And he's, whew, man, terrifying piece of work. Got more of these guys, so I'll actually get a couple levels into them. Nice. And then we got a legendary. We'll take a look at it. Ooh, Moloch, nice. Ooh, there we go. There's another epic. I didn't think I had this guy. But I guess I did. Already had a copy. All right, cool. Gabriel Seth, of course, the chapter master of the Flesh Terrors. I like seeing him pop out. I looked at him, and my first thought was like, this guy really sucks compared to Asterath, God. And then I realized he's something like half the points. So yeah, he's pretty solid. All right, what's the legendary? Oh, speaking of Asterath the Grim, he's not half. 50 versus 30 something still. You can have both of them in a deck and be very heavy, aggressive. Blood Angels, melee Blood Angels. Love to see that. I've got a couple levels of this guy after the last couple campaigns. That's very exciting because he's one that takes forever to level up, and I've really wanted to bust him out. Level 6, level 7 is the minimum of where I'll start running him more often. If I manage to get level 8, then it's really on. So, all right, let's see. That's 2 of 4. Let's keep going. And I would love to hear your thoughts on these. I know a lot of people are upset that this is. I'm going to coin the term. I've never seen it before. We call it whale bait, where these are really intended to encourage the folks who have a lot of money to throw around to spend more. I do think this is a nice compromise where, of course, people who have a lot of cash to spend will spend a lot on these. But it is, again, the opportunity for other players to get this stuff without spending money. Like, there is the opportunity to earn these and save your plasma for these without spending money. And I really appreciate that nod. That's really nice. Page 3, not a single epic yet. Page 4, we got a legendary. Go ahead and flip these guys real quick. I already had one of those. Okay. Ooh, nice. A couple copies of that guy's good. I really like this guy. Mine is extremely low level, so I would love to get some more of him too. Oh, we got another. Ooh, 3 copies of Seth. Nice. That's a whole level and a half. And Corbulo. Okay, which that means, I believe that officially means that there is only 1 card I don't have yet, and that's Lamartine himself. Yeah, Corbulo is one where I didn't get him and looked at him and was like, man, this guy sucks. And then I actually looked at him and was like, actually, no, he's pretty good. Okay, so that was 3 out of 4. I've got 1 more chance to get Lamartine. And when I first read these, I'm glad I've done this and done the clarification of this, because when I first read the description of the hero packs, I thought you were guaranteed to get that legendary. I think that, honestly, if you're guaranteed to get at least that 1 headliner card, I get that would discourage people from using the cash ones, but that would be a huge incentive to buy these. I think that would be an encouragement to get these and save. I guess it saves you $5, but or you have the plasma lying around. Yeah, so a bunch of copies of this guy. Look at that. Look at that. That's 2 levels at least. And this is 5 pages, which hopefully means I got more less common ones because I'll get fewer copies of those. Oh, there we go. Another new one. Man, I got a bunch of levels of Seth. That's awesome. That guy's cool. I really like a rare mid-range with a bunch of hit points and regen is a cool combo. I really appreciate regen as a trait. This is a guy I would definitely consider putting in my Azrael, Supreme Commander Azrael decks. I like to see that. Yep. Another epic. Okay. So I did not get Lamarties. And interestingly, both Shinto Bean and I were given this chance to go ahead and show these off and talk through them a little bit. And he did not get Lamarties either in the 4 packs that he opened. So that does get a show with the drop right here. So buyer beware. Of the 5 legendaries that are possible to get, I got 2. And I believe I got 2 copies of Astorath and 1 copy of Corbulo. Of the epics, I got quite a bit of Seth. I got actually some of all of these. I didn't get that guy, and I didn't get any of Tiberos the Red Wake, but I got a little bit of the others and a couple copies of this one. Of the rares, oh man, much smaller pool. So I got this guy, I got these guys, I did get this guy, and that guy. I'm not sure I got any of the others actually, so my rare drops were a little less common. I got quite a few copies of all of the commons, so no surprise, I got a bunch of the commons. If they're newer cards that you want, which those are newer cards that I want, and commons level up really, really quickly. So pretty excited to have that. But if I had spent the money for these, to be totally honest, I would have been pretty disappointed to not get Lamarties. Because I could have spent the extra 5 last week and gotten Lamarties himself, just guaranteed to just have him. So I appreciate that these are here. I do really like getting those new cards. Like there's a really cool set of cards in my card pool now, and let's go ahead and take a look at that. But in general, I wonder, because these are still fairly random. Now, if this was for a faction that I really, really love, because I like Blood Angels, they're pretty cool, but they're not maybe my top sub-faction. If this were, I don't know, Ynnari, if they put out a bunch of new Ynnari cards, I'd be really excited. Oh, I don't want to filter by Tau. And I would probably go ham on something that was a very limited card pool for just those. As it stands, so we got, let's see, couple levels of these guys. These are all the new cards I got. Gives you a nice indication. I guess I must have gotten some copies of that guy because I have a level for him. Several levels for this guy. That one's cool. I was probably going to sit on him for quite a while at low level, so that really helps kickstart him. And that's all of the cards that got to level. And just to rewind, that was for 8,000 plasma. But again, this isn't necessarily showing all the cards, just the ones that I actually can level up. Quite a few of those cards I have had in my collection for a long time, so it again would take 150 or so copies to level them up. So what we're looking at is purely the cards I didn't have. If I was a newer player and had just done that, the screen would be full of cards from that pack that I was able to level up to a couple levels. And getting like level 3 or 4 cards is pretty great to start out. And of course, if you're doing any PvP events or any max level campaign events, all of these guys jump into your collection as max level, which is a nice perk too. So yeah, that is the new hero packs. That is the randomness factor. I would still kind of prefer my own practices for spending plasma. So it's the 150 plasma for the guaranteed warlord packs, the occasional 75 plasma for a new epic that I don't have. I never spend the plasma for a new legendary I don't have because they don't pop up in the card shop very often, and the amount of plasma you need for 1 copy is bonkers. So yeah, it's that 75 or anything under. I will sometimes spend the 100 gold for a couple copies of a rare, but that's also less common because that stacks up really quickly. The 50 to 100 for 5 to 10 copies of a common, that I consider worth it pretty often. And that's gold and not plasma, because gold you're in much faster. If I'm spending money on the game, it's usually on the Battle Pass. The Battle Pass gives you guaranteed legendaries, gives you a bunch of legendary cards, gives you a bunch of extra card packs, and a bunch of in-game resources for a decent price. Like to continue, as much as I play the game, to continue supporting it, the Battle Pass feels very reasonable for this. Most of the other money packs do feel quite high, and I play enough where I don't I play enough where I am grinding already, so being patient and grinding up the card levels is a more efficient way for me than drop a bunch of money if I'm only playing for short terms at a time. So we'll call it there. Appreciate the time, and yeah, let me know what you think.